Okay, everyone, this will be a weird weekly update, but this is Leapings number 83, I think, and I'm looking for this for the 27th, I believe, of April 2024. So I'm in the middle of moving. Can't tell this is actually baby's room. He's not in there right now. He's taking a nap elsewhere. So, um, and this room is pretty much empty. So hopefully, my voice is not super echoey. Um, as it reverberates around. But I'll just leave a quick weekly update with you guys. This should be the last one in this apartment. I've lived here for a little over 2 years. If you've watched the channel, actually, you'll remember when I moved. Um, it was the very beginning of 2022. So I actually only had about 6-ish months in my apartment that I started this channel in, which I had only moved into that month I started my channel. And I was back in Colorado. So this is actually the place I've lived the longest since I've been married, which is kind of crazy. But anyways, the stuff I read this week. Well, the two that I don't have physically, so I'll mention them first, is The Name of the Rose, which I haven't finished. I'm not quite halfway done. There's so many digressions. It's weird. That's not what I was expecting at all. I was expecting like some very gripping and philosophical mystery. It is very philosophical and it's gripping at times, but it's very different. I wonder if all of Echo's stuff is like that. But I'm enjoying it. Hopefully I can finish it this week. It's a little longer, but definitely not as to the point as Codvel, those books by Alice Peters. And Codvel is a more likable main character than our antagonist of Otso. Otso definitely has some interesting. It's cool to see all the medieval philosophy, pretty much, right? It is very much there. So the other book that I don't have physically is Barriar by Lois Master Bujold. I read Shards of Honor a while ago. Actually, I think it's the next book I need to review, so it's been about 4 months or so. Still last year. I'm still on last year's books. So in a couple of weeks, I will have finished all the books I read in 2023 for reviews, that is. But they won't come out still until like June. That's how far behind I am. But anyways, so Barriar, I am enjoying it. It's not bad. I am listening to this one on audio actually because Audible has like the ones that are included in membership, and this one is going away next week, late next week, and so like a week from today when I'm recording this. So I was like, I want to listen to that. But there's also like there's a lot more others, but there's 3 I really want to listen to, and so I'm like, maybe I can fit this one and another one in before we get to when they're gone. So I don't know. Anyways, the 3 books I finished. Another one I don't have physically, so let me mention that one first. Oh, by the way, I am enjoying Barriar, actually. I think Bujold does a really interesting thing about making it very straightforward story that is just surprising, and the fact that it's rather unique, hadn't really been done before. It's about a woman, right, who's really the mother of the protagonist of the series, but she's one of the main characters in Shards of Honor anyways, but she's just pregnant in this one, and she's getting used to married life on a new planet. So it's very interesting compared to normal space opera, I feel like. It actually won the Hugo Award, so, and Nebula. No, it didn't win. It got nominated for Nebula. It won the Locust as well. Anyways, the 3 novels I finished so far this week has been Protector by Larry Niven, which I do have a physical copy. It's just at the house, the new place we're moving. So, and I enjoyed it. Very short. It's been a hot minute since I read a Niven novel. I read 3 Niven novels the same year I started my channel, just earlier in the year. I had read Ringworld Engineers, and Integral Trees, which I read that one last. I wasn't a very big fan. I wasn't as big of a fan of Engineers as I was of Ringworld as well. And Engineers kind of spoils this Protector novel as well, only slightly, but if you really wanted to, you could read Ringworld and then Protector and then Ringworld Engineers. But anyways, yeah, not a bad novel. Niven definitely has he does a good mixing of science fiction and science fact. It works rather well, I think. So he's kind of a hit or miss author for some people. I really like Ringworld, though. I'm a big fan of Ringworld. So, anyways, but I did not read the sequel to Integral Trees, and I have not read, I think, Ringworld Throne or Throne of Ringworld is the next Ringworld novel. Anyways, the other novels I finished, this is the first one I finished in the week, actually, was The Dark World by Henry Kuttner. There's a good chance it was also written by C.L. Moore, co-written by C.L. Moore, husband-wife duo. Of course, I've read Moore than I've read Kuttner. Moore, I would argue, is arguably the better author, actually. But I really like her story, like Sean Blow and her C.L. Moore stuff. But and I've been meaning to read Never a Woman Born. I believe that's by Moore as well. So, anyways, very interesting novel. Very obvious inspiration for Zelazny's Amber. Not as good as Zelazny's Amber. It's also much shorter and just one book, anyways. But very interesting. Not a bad novel. Definitely entertaining. It has some interesting stuff in it. I'll have more thoughts about it 4 or 5 months from now, of course. But interesting. If you can get your hands on it and you're a big fan of Amber, Amber is the better stuff, but you might enjoy this. And then the other thing, which I think I had started last week, it's just so thick, is Toll the Hounds by Stephen Erickson. Book 8 in Malazan Book of the Fallen. I enjoyed it a lot. It's definitely a little too long, but that is a problem with most epic fantasy anyways, is it's generally too long. That's not always the case, I should say, but it generally is the case. Which, I just reminded, actually, the Curse of the Mist Wraith that just came out like yesterday or something on audio. Speaking of really long series, I haven't read anything by Wirtz, but I'm curious if anyone has opinions on Wirtz, if she's worthwhile, especially if you know my opinions on epic fantasy. I like Malazan. It's just, I started the first Malazan book in November of 2021. Okay, it's been ages. That's how long it takes me to get through this big epic fantasy series. I read Rune Lords faster because those books didn't actually have bloat problems, even though they're epic fantasy. And I also read the Dedicate Cycle faster. Malazan's a little thick. But anyways, I enjoyed it. Really good ending, which is pretty typical for Malazan. Definitely better than book 7, I feel like. Reaper's Gale, which was not my favorite, but it was good. I liked it. Definitely gets a little philosophically long-winded at times there, but it's not bad. It's just a little much, I think, but it just takes its time going places, and it's done really well. It's not like I would say it's done poorly. It still just takes its time getting there, which I'm not the biggest fan of. And like compared to Robert Jordan, though, like Wheel of Time, it's leagues and leagues and leagues better than that. So, so those are 3 books I finished. I've been reading, let me mention these 2 real quick because I've read less of them. Actually, I'll mention this one because I mentioned it before. Woden, Historical Companion. I've been slowly making my way through this one. Haven't really gotten any done since I've been working. It's my 3rd day at work today. Another one tomorrow. Long shifts, so don't get any reading done, really. And then I got this probably when I moved here, The Making of Chaucer's English, which is pretty interesting because it has an intro basically saying that he's going to rely on philology, basically, to help. And then the chapter 1 goes into like these claims that are like pretty much not provable, about like Chaucer being the father of the English language, right? Or they're like absurd, right? Or like stuff like that. So, so he's going to look at Chaucer and like his actual effect on English using the Middle English Dictionary in large part, but and a lot of this stuff is as recorded, right? So I remember in a couple of my humanities classes, I was always told like, oh, Shakespeare, he coined, I was normally told he invented and coined 2,000 words in the English languages. Like, I think it was more accurate to say that the first record we have of this word in English is in Shakespeare, right? Chaucer did more. It's like 3,000. It's one of those. So Shakespeare did 1,000, Chaucer did 2,000. I think it's Shakespeare did 2,000. It's actually Shakespeare Appreciation Day today, but I'm going to make Chaucer better than him in this sentence at least. Chaucer did more. Chaucer did 1,000 more than him, but Chaucer's also older by about 200 years, right? So it makes sense, especially when Chaucer is in that period where we're taking heavily from French, right? After the point, where a lot of people in England aren't bilingual anymore, we can borrow these words, which is one of the things that makes English such a good language. It's just very versatile in explaining things more so than most other languages, more so than French, which is funny because we got our a lot of our words from French. The only thing I don't like about this period actually is that we lose a lot of those English words and we don't retain them at all, right? So we have like doubles like justice and righteousness. Those are justice is the French. It comes from Latin, obviously, but that's French for you. And then righteousness is the native English. But like honor, we don't retain menska, right? Or we do retain like graveyard and cemetery. There's stuff like that. We lose a lot of them, right? We were losing some of them anyways, right? Like I've never heard anyone called their lord Drichten, right? Or Drighton, or whatever you would say in modern English. Anyways, I thought this would be shorter, but I can't stop myself. I'm also reading this. It says the Song of the Cathar Wars here. It's normally called the Song of the Albigensian Crusade. This translation is by Janet Shirley from the 90s, I believe. I'm about a fourth of the way through it. It actually has two authors. I'm almost done with the first author's part, who does about the first third or so of it. And it's the Albigensian Crusade, which is pretty brutal stuff. The author very much glosses over the massacre of Béziers, which is terrible. 20,000 people get massacred, and he's basically just like he says it's terrible, but he gives it like a stanza, and that's about it. So yeah, I want to listen to a song for Arbonne by Guy Garvey and hope it's better than The Last Light of the Sun. And this makes sense to give me better context. The Last Light of the Sun, I was already familiar with all that context, right? That's King Alfred stuff. But I'm not all that familiar with Albigensian Crusade. I feel like I owed it to the work and to history and to people who died in this crusade, in particular, in Aquitania, the way it affected troubadours, the way it affected genocides, kind of, and well, there is no country called Aquitania, I can tell you that. So it's presently part of France, but in this it's not, right? The French are the bad guys, actually. The Aquitans are themselves, or County of Toulouse, largely, but still. Anyways, the last thing I'm reading is this 1892 novel, The Monk and the Hangman's Daughter by, let's see if I can remember this before I look at it, Adolf Danziger de Castro and Ambrose Bierce, of course. I don't know if I heard about this novel in particular, but I heard about this duo writing something in Fritz Leiber's Our Lady of Darkness. De Castries is actually one of the bad guys in it, and it's De Castro in real life, right? So it's actually pretty entertaining. It's told as a journal from a monk who goes into this mountainous village near Salzburg, and basically his obsession with this girl, it comes off as very faith-based and pious and good, but you can kind of peek through and see things like the obsession itself in this narcissism peeking through, and we'll see how badly this ends practically. We'll see how bad it ends. I'm about halfway through, so it's going to end badly, I know that. Anyways, so I'm enjoying it. It's the longest thing I've read by Ambrose Bierce, so that's nice. But anyways, this is longer than I thought it'd be. But Liam from Liam's Lyceum, I hope my audio is okay. It's probably pretty quiet if I were to guess, and I apologize for that, but it's what I got right now. So let me know what you've been reading. I will catch you next week, hopefully. I don't even know if I'll have internet at that time, so hopefully next week, but it'll be in a new place regardless. So, peace.